All right, this is for those that like to understand context, like to study ball, as my logo says right there. This is for all the coaches that are out there. Feel free to get this to Coach McDaniel if you want. But this to me is why you can have all the opinions you want about Tua. That's fine. Okay, lots of opinions that I have about Tua, but I just feel like everything has to be within context when there are certain plays. And so just to yell at Tua and say this was a terrible interception, I want you to understand the play. So here's what I'm going to do for you. I am going to teach you, coach you this play based on how I would coach it if I was coaching and installing this play. Okay, so the play we have is a play that I call popcorn. Okay, so it's a pop by this outside guy, it's a corner by the inside guy, it's a flat by number 3. Okay, so corner to this side, and this side is a play that I call under. It's an under to the outside with a dig over the top of it. Okay, all right, so I'm going to teach it because to me, details matter. Details are everything on these kind of plays, and details are everything in terms of how this thing played out. Okay, so I'm going to start with the under up top. Okay, and so you find your landmarks, you know, as a coach. Hey, this is where we like to do the different things that we like to do. Okay, and so for the slot receiver right here, he's going to run the in route. Okay, so what I want to do with this in route is I want to tuck him in a position where on the snap, he is going to burst outside 2 to 3 yards. Okay, he's going to burst outside 2 to 3 yards. He's going to push up 12 yards, and he's going to be flat. So his initial alignment is going to be determined by where I want the push-up, the vertical push-up. Okay, so I'm going to say I want it about 2 yards inside the number. So I'm going to pull Tyreek a little bit tighter here on that. Okay, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, and then this under out here is going to be a controlled under. So push with speed and then control, and then you're going to come in and you're not going to come flying in here. You're going to be controlled coming in there. Okay, so why do I teach the technique the way that I'm talking about? Okay, so the first thing is we want to understand who's our primary receiver on this play. So this guy is our primary receiver on that concept to the left-hand side. Okay, so the one reason I want to tuck Tyreek in a little bit tighter here is because it also brings the linebacker in a little bit tighter. So if that's the window, that first window, come off of this, and if that linebacker stays tucked inside, boom, I'm hitting the under right where that square is on the arrow. So I want to tuck my guy in tighter because it tucks the linebacker in tighter and it goes to open that window. Okay, so that's why I want him tighter. Okay, I'm going to burst him outside on the snap and then push him vertical. Okay, what are you going to do? Why are you doing that? Why are you bursting him outside? Okay, so there's 2 reasons for that. So I'm going to burst him outside to get leverage on the same linebacker we're talking about, and then I'm going to push him up vertical. Okay, so the first thing is if I'm trying to throw that under, it creates a bit of an interference for that linebacker. So he's tucked inside and he works to match with that, but he can't get through my in, and so I can throw the under to the outside. So that's the first part. But let's just say that that linebacker who's in position there, when I burst, he goes flying out past me when I burst. Okay, so he goes flying out there and he passes me up on the burst, or he gets a lot of width right now on my burst. Okay, and he's in a position to better take away the under. Well, obviously, if that's the case, what I just did by moving that linebacker with width and making him move fast right now is I've opened a better window to the inside to hit the under. I'm sorry, to hit the in over the top of it. Okay, so I am using his alignment and his movement to give the quarterback a better read, because the more movement a defense makes, the better read we get. Okay, and so I'm trying to force movement by that linebacker. What are you going to do? I'm going to burst outside of you. If you don't move, boom, I'm hitting the under to the outside. I'm going to burst outside of you. When you move fast and you push to get to me. Now all you've done is open up that window to the inside, okay? And the next thing that we get by bursting that guy outside and pushing him on the in is the biggest problem on this play when I'm reading to that side, okay? When I'm reading to that side, I want to read to that side when there is only one underneath defender to that side, okay? So I want to read to that side because obviously I'm going to get a 2-on-1 on that linebacker and I'm going to have what I want. The biggest problem on that play would be the next linebacker. The next underneath type player would be the biggest problem. So that burst outside also keeps me away from this other linebacker. I only want to throw that ball on the left side of the ball, okay? I never want him to be able to cross to the middle or to the other side because that brings other people involved, okay? So all of those details for just that simple little in-under route, okay? Now we're going to go to the other side, the popcorn side, all right? First thing we have to always realize is where's the ball on the field, okay? So I might have different landmarks for Waddle right here, who's running the pop based on where the ball is on the field. And why do I have different landmarks? Let's just start with, okay, when I used to do this and run this to the short side, we would actually put our receiver on the outside of the numbers, okay? We would put him to the outside numbers. So I'm going to just show it up top because you can see a little bit better the spacing that you would have with the flat and the hook if you were on the top of the numbers, okay? So we're on the top of the numbers is what we liked to do when we were to the short side, okay? When we were to the short side. And why we like the top of the numbers, because you can see, and even this middle linebacker here that ends up getting the interception, where he's at right now, he's actually over the ball. But his normal position is going to be to the strong side of the formation. So he's going to be outside that hash normally. Okay, so why we want the top of the numbers is because we want this guy to have to go as far as possible to be able to take this away. Because what we know on this particular play, okay, once again, we're going to have the flat and the pop here, is, when we read that aspect of this, we're actually reading the outside linebacker type player. And so if he rose to the flat, we throw the pop right behind him. If he stays inside, we throw the flat. So we don't even want this next guy, this Mike linebacker here, to be involved in the process, right? That's not what the read is off of, because if we've got those two guys there, then obviously they have the advantage. So this guy can go cover the flat, and this guy can go cover the pop, and we can throw an interception, and everything is in the advantage of the offense. Okay, so that to me is the first thing, is making sure this guy here has the right width based on the situation that you're in, okay? And the right width is based off of this flat route as well, okay? So if we were running this to the field, so try to envision this. If we're running this to the field, I'm probably not going to have my pop runner be on the outside edge of the numbers, okay? Because if the flat has to get past him, okay, it takes longer for the flat to get past him. And so we have to understand the relationship of the flat to the pop. So short side will be a little different than the wide side. Wide side, maybe that landmark is 2 yards inside the numbers. Okay, so we can get that cross, and the back has to go basically the same distance to get across you. Okay, the other thing that could determine it is, where is my flat coming from? So let's just say we move this receiver over to this side, and then he runs the flat. Well, now I could be wider if I wanted to, because the flat is coming from a wider position. So all of that stuff matters. All of those details matter, okay? So again, just talking through what we want to do. So biggest question that I always ask when I'm installing or designing a play is, who is the biggest problem on the play? Okay, and so I already mentioned it. This guy is the biggest problem on this play, because based on what we have with the route, okay, so again, we have a corner route, we have a pop route, and we have a flat route. So based on what we have, and specifically based on this guy right here, and there's one reason why I hate the corner route on this concept. It's what everybody runs. It's the universal concept. I hate the corner on it. Kurt, why do you hate the corner on it? Because the corner, if you're trying to throw this route, most of the time you're trying to throw the pop or the flat. That's just the way it is. The corner route is an afterthought and something that just a happening, but you're trying to throw the pop or the flat. Okay, so by putting a corner route on this, 90% of the time, he's dead. Okay, because there's a defender that's going to be standing back in the deep area of the field, and so we're running the corner to coverage. And the guy that we're running him to doesn't affect the rest of the concept. That guy does not affect the pop or the flat in most situations. In most situations, he doesn't affect that. So he just becomes a dead player that we hardly ever throw it to. Okay, I'm going to get back to that in a second. Okay, so key is this Mike linebacker. Okay, we need to keep him or make sure that he's out of the equation so we can isolate the outside linebacker with the pop and the flat. And so what the key is for me on this particular play is this receiver right here. His job has to be, if you are running this concept against this coverage, it has to be to slow down the Mike linebacker. That has to be his job. If he does not do that, then what we saw last night and what we're going to see on this tape is exactly what's going to happen a lot of the times against the top players in the world. Is that guy is going to push through and intercept this ball because he doesn't have any other responsibility. Everything about this play says play to your responsibility, match to number 3 who comes over here to this side and runs a flat, and then just, see the quarterback, and if he works to this side, just work with him, okay? But, so what Miami does, if you watch that guy that I was just talking about, what Miami does is they run their corner straight vertical right here, okay? So with his straight vertical, you'll notice that the Mike linebacker does nothing. He runs right through it, and he's the one that gets the interception, okay? So this is, to me, coaching. This is understanding that this guy is the biggest problem on this play. So what am I going to do to influence that guy? What am I going to do to influence that guy so that Tua can make this throw or make this read? Okay, maybe one thing you say is, hey, we're going to put it to the other hash. If we put it to the other hash, he's got further to go to get to my pop, and maybe I got a better shot with spacing. That's maybe one thing. But the other thing is that this number 3 needs to seam release. So even if he's running a corner route here, he needs to seam release at that linebacker. Okay, so if he seam releases, okay, so this is part of the conversation I was having with Acho, Emmanuel Acho, about this play. And he was telling me that guy is going to match to this flat every time. That's his responsibility. I'm going to disagree that if I run at him, if I'm this guy and I run at that linebacker, I run at the outside number of that linebacker, if he tries to push through this, he's going to hit me. I'm going to run into him. I am going to create a natural rub for this pop. That's the first part. Second part is if I run at him, it's his responsibility. His responsibility is inside first. Okay, so if I run at him, he's going to most likely slow down, right? Respect me, try to jam me. He's going to do something if I run at him. He's not just going to be blind to the guy that's running right to his responsibility and run through this and pick. Okay? So you attack at him. Okay, now the problem with attacking at him is, I already told you that the corner route is not my favorite route. And why it's not my favorite route is because A, it doesn't come open very often. And B, it's counterintuitive to seam inside on a corner route. Why is that, Kurt? Well, because the 2 times that I would use the corner route, most likely on this play or really any play, is when I get cover 2, okay? So they would drop this defender to the flat. So obviously he can cover the flat. We've got an extra linebacker here for the pop. And so if I get cover 2, I might like to high-low this corner to this side, okay? So that's one situation where I may use the corner route on this particular play. So I don't really want to seam inside on that corner route, because the whole key, if I'm running this against cover 2, is getting leverage on this safety. So if I go seam inside, I might lose leverage on the safety. Now the safety covers the corner, the flat is covered by the corner back, and we've got nothing. So it's not conducive to win against cover 2 by seaming inside. Okay, the other way or situation in which I may use the corner route is against man-to-man coverage. And in man-to-man coverage, once again, I don't want to inside release a corner route. You always want to window leverage, so you'd want to outside release to win on a corner route also. So it's not conducive to attack and seam inside. But I need the seam inside if I get zone coverage, or what I call corner off zone coverage, so I can isolate this guy and the Mike linebacker doesn't get involved. Okay, so Kurt, what are you doing? So the first thing I'm doing is I'm not running a corner route on that. Okay, that's what I'm not doing, because again, it's not conducive for what this play is designed for. Remember on the top I asked, what's the primary? When you're looking at this play, this guy here is the primary. That's who I'm trying to throw it to on this particular concept. I'm working him in the flat, but that's who I'm trying to throw to, or to me, who this play is designed for, unless you get a special man coverage thing. But even if you get man coverage, you're reading it flat to pop and then over the top to the corner. So it's not just designed for the corner. So what are you going to do, Kurt? Okay, what I'm going to do on this play is I'm going to put this inside guy on one of 2 things. I'm going to put him also on a pop. So it's pop, pop, flat. Okay, so there's a seam release. Now I can hold off the Mike linebacker because I want to throw it to the outside guy. But if they push through, and if they push through, who's there to cover the inside pop? Nobody's there. Okay, so understanding what this play is designed for, I'm going to get my advantage, going in that manner. Okay, the other thing that I may do is run a play that I call popping. So I'm going to seam inside, I'm going to push vertical, I'm going to get to 12, and I'm going to run it in. Now I'm not going to run it on this play because I've got the under on the top that has an in coming in there already, but here's another way to do this. So now, once again, if I get the push through to the flat, okay, now the Mike linebacker can't be right. If he pushes through to the pop, I've got something replacing him with the in. So understanding why I'm running this play is so important to understanding the details of this play. If this play is called to hit the pop, okay, then we need to understand the Mike linebacker is the problem. I need to take care of the Mike linebacker with something I do. Seam release a corner out, not my favorite, but you still got to seam release him. You still got to hold him off and attack him. I would go with the pop. I would go with the in, because either one of those take advantage of what we're trying to do, what this play is designed for. This play is designed for having a corner off defense. So the corner off defense, what's that do right away? Takes away the corner route. Okay, corner off defense, and that's what it's designed for. So if I'm going to design it for a corner off defense, then I'm going to put the third guy in the mix to that side. Okay, because already on this play, because we have the under up top, this under is going to be my cover 2 beater. Okay, so I'm not even using the corner flat down here for cover 2. So I don't need it down here. If I get man, which is where I might use the corner route, well, just imagine if, okay, so this guy here is covering this guy here in man coverage. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and attack him, whether I'm running the in or the pop. I'm going to attack him, and what does that do? Creates a natural rub for the flat, which is my first read in man coverage anyways. So that guy's got to get through 2 guys that are in the line of sight for him to cover the flat. So now I'm helping my man situation as well by seaming inside and creating the natural rub and forcing that guy to go over the top of me and all of those things. So I get an advantage there as well, okay? So we're going to watch this, all right? We're going to run it, okay? And what it looks as if Buffalo is going to run some sort of too high. So if they were running a too high and I was Tua, I could read it back here. And I could read it off of this defender and go high-low off of this defender. But on the snap, this guy's going to come down, okay? So as that guy comes down, okay, this is why we don't throw the underside, okay? Because we've got an in coming right to this defender. We've got an under coming right to this defender. So that's why that's not a cover 3 beater. So with that not being a cover 3 beater, where can Tua go with the football? There's only one place that he can read this on this particular play. And that is, again, corner is dead. Davis White standing back there. He's taking away the corner out. All right? So he's dead right there. So there's only one thing Tua can do. He's got to read this outside linebacker. It's the other thing. Oh, well, you're staring down your receiver. It's not called staring down your receiver unless it's a solo receiver that's all by himself and you're looking at him the entire time. Reading a defense is not staring down your receiver. Tua needs to see this outside linebacker as fast as he can because he's going to have to throw the pop right behind it as fast as he can because now, instead of it being a great play design, now it's, okay, you got to read it and beat the Mike linebacker with the throw. That's your job now, Tua. That's what you have to do. Oh, yeah, and by the way, you got a guy in your face as well. But that's your job here. No, we don't have an answer if the Mike linebacker pushes through. We don't have that on this play. So you have to beat the Mike linebacker with the throw, okay? The other thing, like I said, I'd love this guy to be a little bit wider, but he's not. And so all of these things play to, okay, this guy, once he gets outside of the pop, Tua's job is to throw the pop. You see it right here. He's hit his back foot. He's ready to throw this. Waddle hasn't even turned around yet. He is doing everything as fast as he can possibly do it on this particular play to do what he has to do. There is no answer on this play because of this, who turns out to be the number 3 receiver. Because he doesn't run an in. Because he doesn't run a pop. We do not have a replacement route for the Mike linebacker pushing through this. Now, I know everybody wants to say, well, just take a sack, fall down, scramble. Those people don't get it, okay? What Tua is doing here is he's trusting what the coaches taught to get his guy open. I promise you that on this play, and if they didn't, then they're wrong. But I promise you on this play, because of this that I just showed you is covered up, where they're telling him if this guy drops down and this guy is in an off position, your read is this guy. I promise you they're telling him that. That's what you have to do is read this guy and you're going to have to beat the Mike linebacker with the throw. That's what you got to do. So what's Tua doing? He's reading that guy and he's getting the ball out as fast as he possibly can, trusting that this route will take care of the Mike, or my timing, based off what the coaches told me, will take care of the Mike. There is no way. So again, this is the next thing people want to do. Okay, so I'm going to read the outside linebacker, okay? And now go from that outside linebacker to this inside linebacker while you're trying to throw this fast and make sure you see whether he's jumping it or not. I guarantee you, if you try to do that, he will jump it every time. If you're taking an extra tick to read the outside linebacker and then work to the inside linebacker, by that time, the Mike's going to be there. A good Mike is going to be there every time if you're trying to see him also. So if you did that, what you'd be doing is you'd just be bringing him right to the play because you're late on the play. Your guy's waiting. He's read everything else by that point. And so you're late. You help him. He gets the interception. Okay? So the people that say, well, you got to see him too, again, don't understand the game of football. Is you can't see everybody on the field. You don't have time based on the timing of these routes to see and read multiple guys. There are times you have to trust your coaches and the design of the play to get a guy open, okay? Now, if we ran this, this, and this, okay, now I do have time to read the outside linebacker and then work to the first pop and feel or see this linebacker. Why do you have time now? Because if I'm late and he's pushed through, I've got an answer, okay? I've got an answer. The other thing, if we're running an in here, okay? If we're running it in here, I actually read this the opposite. So if I'm running it in here, I would actually read this guy first. So by doing that, we attack him, we've got the in there, and he holds inside. All I need him to do is hold inside. Once he holds inside, I've got my isolation outside. If I look at him first, knowing I've got something replacing him, and he moves hard to take away this pop, as we showed here, boom, I don't have to worry about anything. I got my read, he moved, I'm throwing the in right behind him. Easy. The game has become easier on our quarterback by understanding the biggest problem and doing something to answer that problem. Miami doesn't do anything to answer the problem here. They do absolutely nothing with the route technique, with the actual route that we're running, with the spacing of the concept. Yet, what we're going to do is come back and say, Tua, this is awful. Tua, this is football 101. You can't do that in this particular play. I'm going to sit here and argue there was nothing else for Tua to do other than take a sack. Okay, really? All right. I mean, if you think a quarterback's going back and going to try to see everything on the field and his mindset or thought is take a sack, then again, you don't understand the position of quarterback. Our goal is to try to make the play work based on what we've been given, and based on what he's been given, he is reading this exactly right, and he's throwing it about as fast as he can throw it. So there is nothing else for him to do here other than wait and hold and see if by waiting they cover it. Again, not an option for a quarterback. To me, once again, I broke down the Miami Dolphins last week. And to me, there's a lot of things like this that are detail-oriented that they don't do. And I don't know why. I don't know if they've never been taught. I don't know if they don't think about this. I don't know. And again, it's not just Miami. I see it across the league. And that's why I'm always asking why. Why are we running a corner? Why are we not inside releasing? Do we understand what the biggest problem on this play is and what Tua's issue is going to be if we run it like this? Okay, why are we doing what we are doing? I just broke down this whole play and gave you details for everything. Details up top, why we're doing what we're doing. Details on the bottom, why we're doing what we're doing. The spacing, the timing. Every release of every single receiver matters. Spacing matters. Knowing when we're going to read a particular play matters. And when we read it that way, what are we trying to get? Who are we trying to read? What do we need to do to make sure things like this don't happen? And if we don't pay attention to those details, again, you're going to tell me if this guy comes off and attacks him right there, that he is not going to hesitate. Disagree. He will hesitate. Or, worst case, like I said, we run into him and now we're living for another day and Miami has a chance to win this game. Good break. It was a good play, which I expect from good players if we don't force them to do something else. They're going to play it well. He knows, like, I'm not worried. Everything's going outside here. Everything is way outside of me. I'm just going to push through. I'm going to push through even if this guy is his guy. He can say here, I'm going to push through my guy and work to the next zone because everything is going to the outside here. Nothing is threatening me back to the inside. Now we throw a pick. Now everybody's mad at Tua. Now we lose the game. And to me, this is way bigger than that. And again, have your opinions on Tua that you want to have on Tua. But to me, you have to put context on every single play. And to me, I'm going to do that. And that's why I break down the tape. It's why I do what I do, is because I believe the details matter. and there needs to be details on everything, understanding what the quarterback is being asked to do in each and every situation.